On Christmas morning 2025, 7 major nations, Brazil, India, South Africa, Indonesia, Germany, Mexico, and Japan, unveiled sweeping restrictions on key U.S. exports. Their joint declaration sent shockwaves through Wall Street and Washington, marking the end of America's unchallenged economic leadership. Simultaneously, Canada, the EU, and ASEAN announced the Maple Leaf Accord, a new trade corridor for critical minerals. Bypassing the U.S.-Canada's move secured direct supplies for Europe and Asia, signaling a dramatic realignment in global trade. The unipolar era was over. Multipolar trade had arrived. The Great Uncoupling was underway. For decades, the U.S. dollar, Navy, and consumer market anchored the global economy. But after the 2008 crisis and rising U.S. sanctions, cracks appeared. Nations saw dependence on the U.S. as a risk. Emerging powers wanted to set the rules, not just follow them. The old pyramid was giving way to a network of hubs. The age of a single economic sun was over. For decades, access to the U.S. market was the ultimate prize. But it bred dangerous dependency. Trade wars and supply chain shocks exposed the risks of relying on a single economic engine. Now, major exporters are deliberately reducing their U.S. exposure to de-risk their economies. Diversification means if America falters, other markets, Asia, Africa, Latin America, can pick up the slack. This isn't abandonment, but smart rebalancing. Economic sovereignty is at stake. Fewer eggs in one basket means more autonomy. Rising powers like India see diversification as essential for true independence. New middle classes in Southeast Asia, Africa, and Latin America offer massive growth potential. Exporters are chasing these opportunities, not just defending against U.S. volatility. A Brazilian beef producer now eyes Vietnam as eagerly as America. German automakers design for India, not just Detroit. The exporter's gambit is both defensive and offensive. It's about capturing the world's next billion consumers. The global trade map is being redrawn. As the U.S. loses its central role, new regional hubs are emerging. Singapore and Ho Chi Minh City anchor Southeast Asia's supply chains. Dubai and Riyadh compete to connect Europe, Asia, and Africa. Sao Paulo drives Latin America's industrial growth. Massive infrastructure projects, new Silk Roads, are weaving these hubs together. The India-Middle East-Europe corridor and Africa's Lobito corridor are opening new trade routes. Digital highways matter too. 5G, fintech, and instant payment systems like Brazil's Pix are revolutionizing regional commerce. Supply chains are becoming shorter, more localized, and more resilient. German car makers now run separate supply chains for each region. Regionalization means less vulnerability to global shocks. The world is shifting from just-in-time global efficiency to just-in-case regional resilience. These hubs are the new engines of global trade. The map of commerce is being redrawn. Nations aren't waiting for change, they're driving it. Brazil is forging new partnerships in Africa, exporting technology and building markets beyond China and the U.S. Germany, once reliant on Russian energy and global markets, is diversifying energy sources and manufacturing bases, hedging against geopolitical risk. India's Make in India initiative is turning it into a global manufacturing contender, attracting giants like Apple to produce for export. Canada's Maple Leaf Accord leverages its mineral wealth, building a domestic supply chain for batteries and EVs, not just exporting raw materials. These strategies move countries up the value chain and secure their place in the future economy. The playbook is clear: diversify, innovate, and build resilience. Economic diplomacy is the new competitive edge. Nations are shaping their own destinies, not waiting for the old order to return. The world is in motion, and adaptation is survival. Old dependencies are being replaced by new alliances. The future belongs to the proactive. The global game has changed. The US dollar's reign as the world's currency is fading. Sanctions weaponize the dollar, prompting a global backlash. Countries are striking trade deals in local currencies. India and the UAE, China and Russia, Brazil and China. Central banks are diversifying reserves, shifting from dollars to euros, yuan, and gold. The dollar's share of global reserves is shrinking. Digital currencies and central bank digital currencies, CBDCs, could accelerate this trend, enabling direct cross-border payments. The dollar's dominance isn't ending overnight, but its decline is clear. A new multipolar monetary system is emerging. Nations are hedging against U.S. policy and geopolitical risk. The world is preparing for a future with multiple financial pillars. De-dollarization is a process, not an event. The international monetary order is being rebuilt. The era of dollar supremacy is waning. The old global trade system was a hub-and-spoke model, with the U.S. at the center and long, complex supply chains optimized for efficiency. The new system is a decentralized web, with multiple regional centers of gravity. Efficiency now shares the stage with resilience. Friendshoring and nearshoring are replacing far-flung supply chains. Trade agreements are smaller, more flexible, bilateral, regional, and sector-specific. Deals like the Maple Leaf Accord and CPTPP are tailored for speed and pragmatism. Technology and values matter more. Environmental standards, labor rights, and data privacy shape market access. The EU's Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism ties trade to carbon footprints. The landscape is more fragmented, but also more responsive. Market access now depends on regulatory and ethical alignment. The rules of trade are no longer purely economic. The global system is more complex, but also more adaptable. The age of one-size-fits-all trade is over. Nowhere is the new trade order more visible than in Asia. Intra-Asian trade now surpasses trade with the West, fueling a cycle of regional growth. China's rising costs and tensions have pushed companies to diversify manufacturing to places like Vietnam. Vietnam's strategic location and trade deals have made it a new electronics and textile hub. India is moving up the value chain, from services to high-tech manufacturing and innovation. With a huge domestic market and government incentives, India is becoming a global growth engine. Asia's economic bloc, anchored by China, India, Japan, South Korea, and ASEAN, is setting its own terms. The region is building its own financial institutions, trade rules, and supply chains. This isn't isolation, but engagement from a position of strength. Asia's self-reliance is shifting the global center of gravity eastward. The continent is no longer just a supplier, it's a powerhouse. The world must adapt to Asia's new role. The future is being written in the East. The shift to a multipolar world brings both risks and rewards. Fragmentation could spark rival blocs, new Cold Wars, and stifle global growth. Rising protectionism threatens decades of integration and innovation. Industries and consumers could face disruption, higher prices, and fewer choices. The challenge balances resilience with openness. Yet a multipolar system offers more equity and balance. More nations have a voice in shaping global rules. Regional hubs create multiple engines of growth, reducing vulnerability to shocks. Economic power is more distributed, fostering long-term stability. Success will require agility, innovation, and coalition building. Nations must diversify, invest, and cooperate, even as they compete. The old order is fading. A new, complex one is emerging. The task: shape it into an era of peace and shared prosperity. The future belongs to those who master the multipolar maze.